Tim says I say it wrong all the time. Mary Ann Reynolds. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the Idaho Perspectives webinar we are joined today with our Superintendents of the Year, as well as Cheryl Charlton, the Superintendent of IDLA. We are just thrilled to have all of these experts and on the panel with us today. We know that the COVID-19 pandemic and the soft closures of Idaho schools has presented both challenges and opportunities. Our students and educators had to adjust to virtual and distance learning literally overnight, and during the last several weeks, our school leaders from all over the state have been working tirelessly to support teachers, their staff, and most importantly, their students. And with most school calendars nearing the end of the year already, or they're finished for the year, district leaders are looking to next fall and how to apply the lessons that are learned in the recent weeks to ensure that they are prepared to help ensure students continue learning whatever school may look like next year. So this webinar today will provide an overview of how school leaders plan to help support their parents and their students during this time of transition, and it will also feature former administrators of the year and again the head of the Idaho Digital Learning Alliance. We'll discuss ideas, tools, and strategies that they have used and are considering based on the spring closures and what students and educators may need moving forward to provide a high-quality instruction to our students. So with that, again, I'm thrilled to have this panel of experts in Idaho with us today, and I'd just like to take a moment to go over their background. And I'll start with Dr. Mary Ann Reynolds, Superintendent of Schools for the West Ada School District. Mary Ann has served in numerous roles in public education for 46 years. She's been a teacher, an elementary principal, director of curriculum, assessment, special education, Title I, and other federal programs. Dr. Reynolds served as the deputy superintendent for the state of Idaho and led the Lakeland Joint School District as superintendent for 6 years. Currently, she serves as the superintendent for the West Ada School District, and she has also been an adjunct professor and grant writer and has served in numerous leadership roles for state and national organizations. She is a 4-time recipient of School-Based Teacher of the Year Award and has also been honored with the Idaho Association of School Administrators Leadership and Public Education Award on 2 separate occasions. Superintendent of the Year for Idaho and was one of the 4 finalists for National Superintendent of the Year as well. Dr. Reynolds is married to a superintendent of a small rural school district, and they have 4 children and 8 grandchildren. Welcome, Mary Ann. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Next, we have Dr. Robert Donaldson, the superintendent of the Lewiston School District. Bob was born in Washington, Pennsylvania, and is one of 4 siblings. His father, James, was an attorney, and his mother, Alice, was a high school teacher. Bob received an undergraduate degree from Pennsylvania State University in 1975, a Master of Education degree in Special Education, followed from the University of Kentucky in 1977, and he received a Doctor of Philosophy degree with an emphasis in Education Administration from the University of Idaho in 1986. Bob started his teaching career from Milwaukee, Wisconsin Public Schools in 1980 and was employed by the Lewiston School District in 1993 as assistant principal at Jennifer Junior High School. He went on to serve as Jennifer Junior High Principal and Lewiston High School Principal before joining the Central Services Administration as assistant superintendent in 2011 and then accepting employment as the superintendent of schools in 2013. Bob's spouse, Jody, is a kindergarten teacher at McSorley Elementary School, and they reside in Lewiston. Bob and Jody have 2 children. Daughter, Story, is a healthcare professional, and son, Aaron, a firefighter and emergency medical technician. The Donaldson household also includes 2 lovable canine kids. In addition to spending time with their family, the Donaldsons love to entertain friends in their home, travel, read, cook, and maintain an active lifestyle. Glad to have you, Bob, on board.
Thank you.
Next, we have, absolutely. Next, we have Dr. Thomas. Jeff Thomas is the superintendent of Madison School District. Since his appointment as the superintendent of the Madison School District in 2001, Dr. Thomas has been instrumental in promoting increased academic achievement and providing improved facilities for children in a rapidly growing community. He has overseen the construction, remodeling, and expansion of several schools, including a new high school, 2 new elementary schools, and an alternative middle school. He has also developed and maintained positive relationships with business and community leaders. Under his leadership, Madison is consistently among the top 5 Idaho school districts in academic student achievement, is a state leader in offering advanced placement and dual enrollment courses, pre and after school programs, and provides an ever-expanding opportunities for their gifted and special needs children. Dr. Thomas is active in state professional organizations, serving as president of the High School Activities Association, president of the Idaho Superintendents Association, president of the Idaho Association of School Administrators, and president of the Rexburg Area Chamber of Commerce in 2014 and 2015. Currently, Dr. Thomas is serving as chairman of the Idaho School District Council and also has served on Governor Kempthorne's Blue Ribbon Plant Facility Task Force and Governor Otter's K-12 Task Force on Education. In 2015, Dr. Thomas was named Idaho Superintendent of the Year, and Dr. Thomas and his wife, Jenna Lee, live in Rexburg and have 5 children and 5 grandchildren. Pleased to have you, Dr. Thomas, with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Next, we have Kevin Lancaster. He is the Bliss Joint School District Superintendent. And Superintendent Lancaster followed his brother's footsteps into a teaching career. After teaching for 2.5 years, then 1 year as a half-time principal and half-time teacher, he has been a full-time administrator for the past 25 years in Bliss. He just presided over his 26th high school graduation in Bliss. Superintendent Lancaster's greatest accomplishments has been the ability to surround himself with excellent people. Recruitment and retention of quality people contribute to the success of school and his success as an administrator. Kevin has mentored several school leaders in Bliss that have gone on to serve as leaders around our state. And one of his passions is athletics. He believes the lessons learned on the field and on the court are as much part of a student's success in the classroom as curriculum is. Because of his interest in high school sports, he was nominated and elected to serve on the District 4 Board of Control for approximately 14 years, and then elected as a member of the Idaho High School Athletic Association Board of Directors for approximately 8 years. He took his position in Bliss to gain experience and move on to bigger and better things in the future. Although he's had opportunities to move on to climb the ladder, he chose to stay the course and help the students and teachers of Bliss do the climbing. This year, they will celebrate 100 years in their building. He credits his success and fulfillment in education to his associations with other superintendents who mentored him. Superintendent Lancaster loves spending time with family, and it usually involves hunting, golfing, and fishing. His rules for life are: first, keep things simple. And the second secret, he says, happy teachers make happy students, make happy parents, and make a happy me. So we are thrilled to have you, Superintendent Lancaster, as well.
Good to be here.
And also joining us today, we have Dr. Cheryl Charlton, the Superintendent of Idaho Digital Learning Alliance. Dr. Charlton has 31 years of experience serving in the field of education with 28 years in administration, combining experience in both rural and urban Idaho school districts, including American Falls, Blackfoot, Pocatello, Twin Falls School District, and at Idaho Digital Learning Alliance for the past several years. She has served in leadership roles at the state and national levels and include Governor Otter's K-12 Education Task Force and Governor Little's Education Task Force as well, the National State Virtual School Leadership Alliance Board of Trustees, the Idaho Technology Council Board of Trustees, the National Rural Education Idaho Affiliate Liaison, the National Computer Science Code.org Policy Committee, and the Idaho Computer Science Committee. She's partner and member of the Idaho Association of School Administrators and the Idaho School Boards Association, the International Association of Online Learning, and the National Digital Learning Association Council. She served on Governor Little's K-12 Council providing input on the coronavirus pandemic, and Dr. Charlton received the 2014-15 Idaho State University Distinguished Leadership Award. Welcome, Dr. Charlton. We are thrilled to have you as well. And I just have one question. Serving on all of those committees, how do you have any time for yourself?
I'm tired. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, as you can see, we have quite the lineup in Idaho, and I am just really thrilled and honored to have these Superintendents of the Year with us. They're the best of the best. And so with that, as you could tell from their bios, we have some really wonderful people with us who do great things for kids. So with that, let's get started on some of the questions. And so if would like to start with Mary Ann. Mary Ann, what are your thoughts and plans on addressing student attendance for next fall, you think?
Well, I think there are a couple of opportunities we're looking at in terms of what might happen. So in considering our greatest desire is that school opens up in the fall, the buses run, and things go according to our normal expectations. But we also know we have to be prepared in case that doesn't happen, and how would we capture that attendance. So one of the things that we know right away is that our district has to find a way to have one-to-one devices and internet connectivity for all of our students. Our teachers have done a remarkable job the last couple of months in calling home and speaking with students over the phone when they weren't able to reach them via technology. So we know we have some work to do there. But I think it's always a combination of approaches. We've never found one thing that works extraordinarily well, but we have found that there are a few things that seem to be working, and we just need to get better at it.
Appreciate that. So in that same vein of attendance, Jeff, do you have a plan to reopen in the fall, and what are you planning to do?
We do, in fact. We've only had, we've been really fortunate in Eastern Idaho. We've had 13 cases that have been confirmed, no hospitalizations. And I think the community in Eastern Idaho is very eager for us to get back into a very traditional type of re-entry into school, where the buses run, the kids go to school, that type of thing. Obviously, we'll place a great emphasis on sanitizing the schools and providing masks and hand sanitizer and Clorox wipes and all those types of things. But the overwhelming consensus from parents in my neck of the woods is they don't want a repeat of what we had since mid-March, which is an online experience. And like Mary Ann mentioned, our experience with it has been uneven. We had families with no tech, low tech, no bandwidth, low bandwidth, one laptop for 6 kids. All 6 children would be going to our schools at various levels. And our teachers as well, we weren't quite ready for a full online experience, but we're fortunate in the sense that we haven't been, at least I'm going to knock on wood, a hotbed of virus activity. And we're holding 4th of July parade. We're doing our Celebrate Youth a big gathering in the park in August. And so right now, we're all systems go, ready to go back to school in a traditional mode.
Kevin, how about you? And I should probably, we're all on a first name basis, but for those folks that are kind of watching, I probably should use your title. So Superintendent Lancaster, how about you? Do you have plans to reopen in the fall? And if you do, what's that look like?
My title is Kevin, so that's okay. We're going to go back to school. We're going to run buses and we're going to have kids here. The thing that's so different about us is even if they limit numbers, we're already limited. we have 10 kids in a class, and even in our tiny school, we'll be able to, if we're told that we have to social distance, we'll figure that out. If we have to go out and pick them up a couple at a time in the van, we'll do that. But our plan, we don't want an alternative plan of connectivity. I don't, I'm old school, even though I'm much younger than most of this panel. But I just think the kids need to be here and they need to see us and be at our place. That's the kind of place we are anyway. And it's as valuable to have them here and have us be with them in person as it is to teach them reading and writing and arithmetic on through devices. So our plan is to have them here, and we don't have an alternative plan. We don't want one.
Great. Superintendent Donaldson, how about you? What is your plan for the fall?
You're on mute.
Sorry. We're looking right now at a number of different options. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, number of different options. Hopefully, as others have shared, we can go back in a traditional sense, but we put together some plans that are blended learning model. What happens if we start with a reduced number of students, kind of plans along those lines? What will we do if we have a reduced number of teachers in the schools? And looking at probably something as realistically more of a blended learning where you would have most of your students hopefully back in a traditional sense, but a plan for those who are going to not come back out of fear or concern, and that we would still include them in a remote learning approach. We did pretty well this summer because a district with almost 5,000 students, we had reached a point where we had 4,000 mobile devices. So there was a real familiarity with our teachers and our students on utilizing that approach. And once we went into soft closure, we actually deployed over 1,000 devices to our kids. So we did pretty well on that drill, but we were kind of all over the board as well. We began with trying to just maintain learning, but we had other teachers who are working on new learning, and with some kids getting the new learning and some not, I think it just creates more issues as far as what that divide is.
Appreciate that. Thank you. So Superintendent Charlton, I know that the majority of your students are already online. So does this impact, did the COVID-19 impact Idaho Digital Learning Alliance the same, would you say, or differently? And do you have to change plans for students taking classes come the fall, or is it going to just kind of be a continual online approach?
For the most part, internally, it's fairly seamless with what we've been doing. The only difference we saw was the impact of the limitation of devices in the home, whether a parent was working remote and now using the device that the student was previously. So just trying to keep a pulse on the profile of what our students and our families are working through. From the external side, I think for us, it's changed quite drastically with the trainings and things that we've been providing, whether it's online pedagogy or it's remote board meetings or whatever it may be. But in particular, just trying to help districts with the models, whether it's a hybrid, a blended, a full-time program. Additionally, I think one of the other new areas really looking and striving to help at the elementary level, which I think is just real key. And again, you know, there's a lot of questions as to how fall's going to look, and every district in the state has a different need. So we're just trying to keep a pulse on that and kind of work in unison with them.
Well, you brought up, many of you brought up the connectivity and device issue and the fact that, you know, parents may be using the one and only device in the house for work, or they have more than one student who needs to get online. And the Idaho Teachers of the Year did a webinar last week, and they talked about the tools and the connectivity and needing more devices. So I guess I'll start with Superintendent Renell. Can you tell me what your thoughts are on how the state can help? As the Teachers of the Year is saying they're doing the best they can to reach out to their students. They feel the same way you do, that they need to be socially, they want to be with their kids, they want to see them, they are hoping for a normal start, but they also know the reality is that may not happen, and so they are thinking and understanding that there needs to be more devices and more connectivity. So how could the state help in that area?
Thank you, Superintendent. Money would be nice. I'm sorry. We're superintendents, so we tend to always say that. But in terms of how could the state help us, one of the things we've talked about over and over again is how important it is that the dream we dream hasn't changed. The dream we have for our kids is career and college ready. That hasn't changed. The standards that make up our learning targets for our kids, the high quality education, none of that has changed. Our vision has not changed, our mission has not changed, but the delivery system has changed. So in terms of how the state can help us, I think always that guidance and that support in terms of that overall learning. And yes, money would be nice, but the other piece has to do with equity, I think. And from a state perspective, I know that's one of your great challenges, is making sure that we provide equity, whether you're trying to help a district with over 40,000 students to a district that has 100 students. So I think from the state perspective, that higher level, that's always important. If you could get a grant and just make sure that we all have devices for all of our children in Idaho and the connectivity, that would be great. But I'll tell you, the other thing that I'm so excited about and the lessons we're learning that I think have implications for this state have to do with the system of public education in Idaho. While we are focusing on some of those pieces, it goes back to the bigger dream about what we have for our kids. And if you just talk to Kevin or Bob or any of the superintendents across the state and you talk to we really are moving from a system of isolation to a system of collaboration. I've never seen superintendents, principals, teachers, parents work so hard together to make sure that we know what we're doing. We're really moving from a time-bound system to an achievement-based system. And technology is a tool that I think has all sorts of possibilities in that bigger scheme of things. So again, if you're looking for rationale, why we might need to look at having the proper tools, we're really moving from a teaching focused system to a learning focused system. So when I listen to moms and dads talk about why they're so frustrated at home and how hard this is and they can't wait for the schools to open, it really goes back to learning that lesson about the focus is more on learning now than before. We've really made this huge shift, I think, from a teacher-focused system to are the kids really learning what we're teaching because of this new delivery model. And I think that the last thing we're learning in that idea of having devices for all kids, but again, I think it's the bigger picture, is that we're looking at shifting public education from a group-based system to an individual or personalized system. I mean, we've talked about it for years, but I think we're on the brink of something really exciting for public education in Idaho. And so then the question is, well, what tools and professional development opportunities do we need to have? And having devices and making sure we're meeting equity, I think the state could be a big help in this whole big picture.
And thank you for that, Mary Ann, because that's what one of the things the Teachers of the Year kind of mentioned last year was, although they've been kind of catapulted into this situation, they feel like, you know, the bright spot was they get the opportunity to kind of think outside the box and do some things that maybe they would have never tried before. And so it kind of goes along with what you're saying, is moving away from kind of a real teacher-centered to a real personalized learning for our students. So I want to jump up to Superintendent Charlton for a minute, because I want to ask her thoughts on what she thinks, how the state can help. You specifically mentioned elementary students. And I know a lot of those kids were you know, sent home with packets and things like that. And I've heard concerns from parents around, well, the little ones can't do it, but I know my niece at 3 years old would rather play with my cell phone than look at a book or a magazine or anything like that. So could you jump in there and give me some thoughts on how you think the state can help with connectivity and devices, especially at the elementary level?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I think at times, sometimes we underestimate what some of our students are able to do. We're all in that space. And so looking at the elementary students and providing options for them, especially in this time, has become very apparent. And we know that the elementary students can function at a very high level with devices. And I think in the best of all the worlds, a hybrid model is so healthy, where you have either a virtual face-to-face if you're not able to be together in a synchronous time, in addition to asynchronous. I think that combination prepares our students both for the workforce as well as just the interactions that have been taking place for them socially during this time period. So I think that preparation is key. And certainly if we were able to provide some opportunities and options for districts at that elementary level, I think that integration would be of assistance during summer, where maybe some of the summer schools could look a little bit different as well.
Well, and I want to jump down. Thank you for that. I want to jump down to Kevin, Superintendent Lancaster, because you had said earlier about, you know, really kids need to see us and be with us and the educators. And I think one of the things, as I had a webinar a couple weeks ago with Sal Khan, he said, devices and connectivity do not replace the teacher. And even the Teachers of the Year said last week too, they still need to see the kids. They still need to work with their students. The one Teacher of the Year that teaches first grade now, she was a kindergarten teacher. Her husband asked her what she wanted for her birthday, and she said, "I want to see my kids." So what is your thought on that? How can we help as a state with connectivity and devices moving forward?
And I only speak for our little small district, but I don't know that, I mean, probably connectivity, but my connectivity that I talk about is connectivity to the kids, from the people, from the teachers to the kids. That's the connectivity that I want. But my fear is that if we begin to depend on that too much, that connectivity, we have a hard time reaching our kids even when they're with us. And I say this not trying to, we have a very uneducated community. And so I think many times we as educators get to thinking that the world revolves around education, and that's what people talk about all the time. we're the only ones that talk about that. Educators are the only ones that care what's going on in education. And there are a few parents, but some of my parents have a couple of jobs each. And so there could be a set of parents that have 2 jobs apiece, and then their kids are home alone and they're trying to navigate this. I don't think it's going to work. But so when you talk about how can the state help, I think we could even provide, we're 1-to-1 in devices right now. And so we're trying to help educate the kids in that sense, but on their own, outside of this, we have a really difficult time reaching the kids and having them learn new material. And I think I think we're fooling ourselves if we think that we're really connecting with them through devices and connectivity.
I appreciate that, and I think it goes back to what Dr. Charlton said earlier about, making sure that there's professional development out there, because a couple of the teachers of the year last year said, you just can't throw us into this and expect us to understand how to change, like Dr. Reynolds said too, just change a teacher-centered way of approach to now we've got devices and connectivity, and although it's great, we're going to need training too. And so I think, Kevin, you also bring a great perspective on kind of the diversity in Idaho and local control and knowing what your folks need in your area. Something else we talked about last week too that sparks a memory is the digital divide between the parents and the students. It's been really highlighted through this pandemic, and even us as educators, we are recognizing that our students are so much more advanced. And one of the teachers of the year shared a story about how you really, before you can just jump online, need to understand you need to keep your kids muted and understand that they can actually work around that and take control of the classroom. So you bring up some really interesting and great points about it's not just about connectivity and devices. We're going to need more training. We're going to need to think about this. There's nothing more important, even with the connectivity and the devices, than that human interaction and that teacher that can really look that student in the eye. So appreciate those comments. With that, I think I want to move into sharing some bright stories. I mean, last week I heard some great things from the teachers of the year, and some of the stuff that they were doing was just amazing. I mean, everybody thinks, obviously right now it's kind of a negative feeling, but I know there's some great things going on in each one of your districts. And so I'd like to start with you, Superintendent Thomas, and if you want to share with us some of the great things that are still going on, even through the pandemic.
Well, I think just to touch on the last point, just briefly, if you've ever seen the public education handshake, so I just had to throw that in there. We can't cut our way to excellence. And so the time is not now, but sometime down the road, Superintendent Ibarra and others, as we work with our legislators, now is not the time to cut funding for technology, when technology, as Marianne so eloquently put it, is more important than ever. I think more than anything else, the biggest success that we've had is that parents have begun to recognize the incredible hard work that teachers do every day in the classroom. Because when you're mom and dad and you're trying to get, 3, 4, 5 children in your household at different levels to do work online and all that type of thing, it's very, very difficult. So I think more than ever, we have seen an outpouring of appreciation for our teachers and support staff than ever before. On social media, on emails, I get emails all the time or letters saying, please thank your teachers. We didn't realize just how hard this was going to be. So that's number one. The second thing, and I think in most of our communities we've done this, our food service support staff has performed marvelously. And in many communities in Idaho, we face food insecurity. We in Madison were serving 4,700 meals per day. And more than anything else, what warms my heart, when you go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if children are hungry, they're not going to learn. So before a device becomes important, breakfast is important, lunch is important. And we were very pleased to be able to do this. And we weren't alone. A number of districts all through the state really stepped up and helped fill a niche that was very needed in our communities. And so that is a resounding success story.
Appreciate that. Superintendent Donaldson, will you want to share with us some of the great stories that are going on in your district?
Well, I'd agree. The first thing that we did, and I think we were pretty effective at, was to make sure our kids knew we were here, we were thinking about them. That's a very low tech approach, but just reaching out by phone. And again, looking at the deployment of devices, but more importantly, just knowing that it's going to be okay. And combined, we don't get out as many meals, but we're getting meals out for probably 3,000 a day. We have 6 bus routes with drops, or areas where the kiddos and their families can come get the meals. That's another time for at least interactions that our kids or families know we're here, we're thinking about them. And then on the tech side, I think we had a lot of combinations of the tech access, but also the tech interaction. So for us, we use choice boards for K-6, which included low tech and high tech options. Our elementary teachers tend to use Seesaw as an interactive platform, but they would post choice boards weekly and then have those interactions. And then secondary was more along the lines of Google Classroom with their interactions. I think the biggest takeaway was just making sure that our parents, our kids knew we were here. It wasn't without teachers reaching a point periodically where they just kind of hit the wall. Part of it's emotional about what they're dealing with, missing their kids. Is this a current reality? I mean, is this really happening to us? So I think the whole human side, trust me, that was paramount in our district. But then we're in a really good position of having not just devices, but a program over the last 5 years to train our teachers, provide professional development of how to really effectively utilize those devices. So we reached a point where almost 75% of our teachers went through that. So again, we were in a pretty good position. And then once we started down this road, either in a very strategic way, we provided training with 2 of our facilitators. One's a staff person here and another out of Oregon. We had 700 in-service, or 700 go through in-service on how to best utilize their technology. So I couldn't be more proud of our district. And for me, what I realized was, even with our teachers, every week on Monday morning, I would send out an email, and just, again, not from a leadership perspective as much as we're thinking about you and thank you for everything you're doing. So a lot of lessons learned. I would love to think that we're going to go back in the fall exactly the way we always have, but I think it's never going to be the same. And hopefully it'll be close to the same, but I can't help but think that it marks a place in time that we're going to have to be super creative as we approach education.
Thank you for that. Those are some great comments, especially about the the human part of the job that we do. So often we talk about achievement, numbers, and but I think that's something the Teachers of the Year mentioned last week too, was there's nothing more important right now than social emotional well-being of everybody, and everybody's been really keenly aware kind of now about how important it is to bind together as we get through this. So Mary Ann, you want to share with us some highlights of some great things going on in your district?
I would love to, and thank you so much. Thanks, Superintendent, for this opportunity as well. I would say one of the greatest success stories I've seen, it goes back to everyone working together. And we have had weekly and bi-weekly meetings with our colleagues. The SIC superintendents have been meeting. I know across the state, every region, the superintendents have been meeting and sharing ideas. And I appreciate that professionalism and that willingness to share great ideas and have a platform where you don't really know what to do about something and you'll get great ideas from your colleagues. So I think that's a great success story. I always have to sing the praises of our teachers. I can't wait until we can hug them again. This has just been the hardest part because, like Superintendent Lancaster points out, is that human touch with our kids, that they have to know that they're loved and that they're safe before we can really do a good job with having learning at high levels. But our teachers have stepped up in ways that I don't know that we'll ever be able to repay them. And it has been a learning curve for all of us. So I think that's a huge success story. The same kinds of things that Jeff mentioned as well. It's the Red Cross model. We started out with making sure the kids are fed, and so we're at over 7,000 meals a day, making sure the kids are safe. We have 542 students who are identified as homeless, and about 125 of those students are unattended youth. They're no adults. So just our special ed department, I swear, Superintendent, they have gone to these families face to face. So while there might be a lot of discussion about devices and connectivity and all of those things, the success stories that make me cry are those teachers and all of our specialists who have gone to meet with the families to make sure that their families are okay and to make sure that the kids are learning. So I just think that's incredible. And then you have these incredible CTE teachers who we found a way so that those students who are in those year 4 capstone programs desperately needing to finish up their skills so they can certify. They have to take those tests in welding, EMT, advanced culinary. And so those teachers have come in and they're working with the kids in a very safe way to make sure that they're on track to finish. And I think the other success story for West Ada is that we're up over 40,000 dual credits this year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And again, I hear stories all the time, like teachers are knocking on doors and you just confirmed it. Appreciate that. So Superintendent Lancaster, you mentioned earlier how important relationships are in your community. So you want to share some positive stories about kind of what's going on in your district?
Well, it's really kind of funny because our whole story is that, and I think it's what has kept me here so long, and that's the fact that we are a family out here. I hear these numbers and they blow me away, and it's awesome. But if I have 10 parents respond, then I have the same percentage as you're talking about your high percentage. And yeah, actually, we just did the packet thing, but we delivered them every Monday. The return on those packets actually in some classes was higher than it was when they were turning in work when we were in person. But the thing that really makes the difference is the fact that our support staff, they came at 6:30 in the morning and they prepared breakfast and lunches every day, took them out on the buses, and we hand delivered at 6 feet, mind you, right? But hand delivered those to those kids who would come out and meet the bus in the mornings. And, I had the chance to ride the bus and see the faces, and teachers rode the buses and saw the faces of their kids. And that's the success, is the opportunity for them to know that we're still here. There were some videos that were made by teachers in our school that were awesome. And my fear is only a few kids got to see them. I thought they were great. I mean, they brought tears to my eyes, and they were to the first graders. They were just the coolest thing. But we have tried to keep our relationships open with our kids, and that's the success part. As far as academically, when I interview somebody, I don't really care how much they know. It's, can you connect to kids? That's what I want to know, because until they do, they can't teach them anything anyway. Kids these days aren't going to listen until you have a relationship with them. So that's the kind of place we are. I think we've kept it in place. We had, graduation the other night. We had 7 graduates. We put them on we spread them out across a hay truck trailer and had the community come, and they were supposed to social distance. And I have to tell you, it was a disaster as far as that, but it was one of the most memorable graduations. Started pouring rain the minute we started. The minute it ended, it quit. And we just had out here in our parking lot, just an awesome experience sending those kids off, those 7 kids. So, while we have failed as far as being able to have kids in our school, we've been successful in maintaining those relationships, and we'll have the opportunity to make up some time as soon as we get back in the building. So we're looking forward to that, and we're not going to accept anything else. So we don't lie, we justify, and we'll figure out how to make that happen. So that's been our experience at Bliss.
Well, I enjoyed the graduation story because I've been watching some of those across the state, and I mean, they're just amazing. The hayride that you mentioned, some folks have a drive-in. They did graduation at the drive-in theater. I know in my town, they put pictures of all the kids on either side of the roads and all the businesses, and kind of did a drive-through, pick up your diploma, and they announced the name in groups, so everybody was still social distancing. So, I mean, I just think that's a great example of how districts are putting kids first and want them to know how important they are. So appreciate that. And then Superintendent Charlton, I know for me that I've gotten to spend a lot more time with some of your staff. So, and I've become a Zoom expert. They've helped me become a Zoom expert. So that's a positive story. But if you want to share, I know for Idaho Digital Learning Alliance, some of the positive things that are going on with you during this time, that would be great.
Sure, thank you. And I echo Superintendent Reynolds in regards to you hosting this, Superintendent Barrow. This has been really valuable, I think, for all of us, and appreciate this opportunity. One thing in particular internally, and Superintendent Lancaster just mentioned this, but the relationships that you have with your teachers, your administrators, and your students, you really have to ensure that soil is cultivated. And we were so fortunate during this time period. Our model for working with our staff and our staff working with students especially, you really have to go the extra mile in the digital world. You have to ensure that that student knows that you care, and the same with our teachers. And so we had quite a few things happen with some of our students that had losses due to COVID. And so just watching our staff reach out and our teachers and support the families in need has been really rewarding in this time of crisis. I think from an external perspective, really looking at the state and how many teachers and administrators just said, I haven't done this before, and they would attend our trainings and roll up their sleeves and really dive in. And I think just seeing that, and I think Superintendent Reynolds mentioned again, just working together with all the districts and seeing everybody kind of pitch in and offer resources and team up and train together. I know our live tech support, which we provide for our students, has really been helpful for our teachers and our districts going through these challenges, because you just don't know what you don't know until you hop into this world. And it can be very discouraging. Learning can stop. So I think you have to really be prepared for all those pieces, especially as everyone said, you're dealing with a lot of emotions, a lot of dynamics in the home. And I think for all of us, we recognize that as educators. And so we appreciate this time, and thank you.
Well, I think, our time is up, and I had a whole page of questions that I wanted to ask each and every one of you, but I think for me, the one thing that you all really drove home was the same thing that the teachers really drove home, and that was, we can talk about achievement, we can talk about kind of, what maybe the fall is going to look like and numbers, but kids learn two ways, academically and then socially and emotionally. And the social and emotional piece for all of us, even as adults, as we've gone through this, has been so important. And we've learned, I think now more than ever, what to be thankful for and how to help one another. And so you both groups, the superintendents of the year and the teachers of the year, kind of carried that same message about making sure that we are tuned in to the social emotional part of our people, of our kids, of our parents, that's going to come first. And then everything else comes after that, the relationship building. And so I just appreciate the time that I've had with you all together too. Like, I want Idaho to know we have some really fantastic educators, and proof again here today, you took the time with everything going on to join us and talk about kind of what you're doing in your district and the great things that are going on despite the pandemic. And you've proved once again that we're all in this together. So just appreciate your time. I think the problem solving and us all uniting together and taking a stand is exactly what we need to do for our students so they can be successful. So I, again, from the bottom of my heart, a heartfelt thank you on behalf of the kids of Idaho and everybody out there listening for everything that you do. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Superintendent Ibarra.
Thank you.
Stay safe.